Hello, and welcome to another episode of Kohler Commentary, and also happy AAPI month. I am so excited because, in honor of this month, too, I have a great way for some of us to kind of, even as Korean Americans, be immersed in our culture if we have the opportunity to go to Korea. I don't know if you guys heard an episode about a couple of months ago with one of my good friends, Hanna, Enneagram 3, shout out. She's sitting right across from me on the screen again in Korea because within those few months, she has already partnered and started a new business with her new partner in crime for this season. And I am all for this mission, and I can't wait to hear more about how this came to be, what their hopes are for it, and just hopefully bring you guys along for that ride as well. So I welcome today Hanna and Christina, founders of Camp Parang. I'm excited to hear more about that. So, welcome, guys, to the podcast. There is a time difference, so I appreciate that technology is just bringing us together today. Okay, so just to like unpause, if I have listeners that have been very avid fans, Hanna, you just moved to Korea in the interim before you go to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
How has life been there? And then, how in that time did you and Christina connect and begin this Camp Hwarang?
Yeah, it's only been 3 months, but honestly, we've absolutely enjoyed, kind of settling in, meeting new people and old friends as well, and connecting with them. But overall, kind of the cultural setting and the immersion setting for our children, and my children are half Korean, has been quite an interesting experience, both good and bad. But overall, Korea is just an amazing place for young kids to grow up in, I think, and a very safe place as well. So in that sense, I think I'm able to relax a little bit coming from kind of like central LA area. And food is a lot cheaper and it's a lot, yummier in my opinion. And we love Korean food, but we definitely miss the community back home in Los Angeles. But yeah, I mean, Christina and I have been connecting probably well over a year. We've known each other back from our days in Bay Area. We went to
Oh,
church, and we also, I think, slightly overlapped at Google. Slash,
oh
I asked
wow.
Christina to write a recommendation for me. Google does this crazy thing where before they hire
Thought
someone,
about that.
yeah, they ask
Mm.
for active employees to give a feedback on the person. And so we stayed connected. And Christina moved her entire family over to Korea during the pandemic. And, just kind of her advice and her guidance and the know hows, starting from like visas to kids' schools, where to live, how to get, apartments and all that, have been instrumental in kind of getting us settled in here.
So being connected with an Enneagram 6 in
Oh yeah,
Christina, you
That's
know you
right.
can trust
prepared.
her. Yeah, and you know
100%.
you don't need to double check, fact check. You got it in her. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was the living ChatGPT before ChatGPT
Yeah.
for all things, Korea and kids. A year ago now, so last summer, I think was when Christina, really brought up this idea of, hey, I've been looking for a Korean immersion program for her own children based in Korea now, but she wasn't able to find any that was, sort of suitable for them, for the age, and for their language ability. And so just really,
Mm.
that's where it really all began. Christina was looking for something for her own children, couldn't find it. Even being an Enneagram 6, all the resources she has, she wasn't able to find one. And so the idea really sprung from there. And then, I'm an Enneagram 3 where I'm just a doer. I'm like, let's do it, like, don't think about what is, what not, just let's just do it and see what happens. And so I egged her on, I think, and we were able to kick it
I
off.
will I will say that I got pregnant unexpectedly. So that's the reason why I couldn't launch last year. And then there's also like a lot of travel restrictions that were still going. And yeah, I mean Hannah was totally the catalyst. And I love how like when you give the story about how we connected, it's like the bullet points. And I'm always about like this is how I felt. Because like I was actually like going down a nostalgia rabbit hole on Instagram like the other day. And do you remember we had like a baby shower for Haru at our house like
Yes.
5 years ago, and I couldn't believe that was 5 years ago. And I think I remember being like, I like this no nonsense Korean American woman who's 20 something. She gives like a leader of the wolf pack vibe that I really
Mhm.
appreciate as a fearful six. And I was like really shocked that she was like so much younger than me because, you know, when you're like in your 20 something, you know, you have like all those insecurities and stuff that weigh you down, but she like literally had none of that. And,
Mhm.
Not
you
true.
know, okay, well, you hit it
I
well because you
yeah.
want to like have this three image, but
Mhm.
no, but I think as a six, like we really love people who like show like some kind of support or like an overhang, you know, of just like, oh, like you're safe. So her confidence like really spoke to me. So that's how I felt when I met her. I completely forgot that I gave her a recommendation, but it's funny. That's how our brain works.
And then fast forward to today, you guys come back together mainly to kind of facilitate in the Korea transition. And then you had this idea. Hannah is the one that loves to empower and support in whatever way possible. So then how did it become what it is today? And why did you guys even start this program? And yeah, I mean, I wish Jaden was 5 is all I can tell you.
No, we'll still be here. We'll be waiting for Jaden.
I hope so.
There's
Yeah.
actually a critical person who's missing from this podcast, and that's Hyemin. She's our
Okay.
third co-founder, and she's like the chief curriculum officer, mom of three. So actually, like you know, last year she has like messages. Like we were always messaging about summer camp because we're like coming and we're like, there's nothing to do for our kids. But we have it on our cacao, and I'm just like, I would love to do it, and I have been thinking about it, but I just got pregnant. And so I was just like, I don't know how I would be doing it. And then boom, Hannah came and she's like such a catalyst. Like she like left no stone unturned in Seoul, like already got like the best like location, like the best caterer, like the best like museums and like places to go to. And I was just like,
Um,
okay, like you know, we're doing it. And so, you know, like I dusted off some like you know, strawman like documents that we had, and we just like kind of went for it. And it's been awesome. It's been really, really fun. And to give you a little bit more background, so basically, as I've said many times, I'm a six. And so the
we
pandemic
love the
hit.
sixes. Mhm.
There's a lot of us out there, apparently.
Mhm.
So when the pandemic hit, I was just like, batten down the hatches. We are going to
Mm.
Target and buy canned food. And I just kind of like never left the home. I was like so fear struck. And you know, it was like crippling to be honest. And you know, even my kids were like going to like those pod schools or whatever. But you know, all these like racial tensions had flared up too, especially against Asian Americans. And I remember just getting really scared because my parents had just moved to like the next town over to be close to us. And during like the
Mm.
height of, you know, Asian hate, I guess we don't really actually sadly know when the height of that is. But yeah, like they like had this like really lewd thing that was like put on their doorstep that like, you know, really scared me. And their Asian American like elderly woman neighbor like got her house broken into the week before. So, you
Oh.
know, me just being a six, being like, it's totally my fault. It's my fault that, you know, I asked them to move up here.
Mm.
I couldn't protect them, you know. And then, you know, I was just going down these spirals, and you know, probably driving my husband crazy. So, you know, one of the things that actually like helped calm me down was to think back about like the last time that I felt really safe, and that was around the time when I was growing up in Korea. I was born in Korea, stayed here until I was 4. I have a lot of family here, and just man, like whenever I wanted to just kind of escape from the anxiety spiral, I would just think about like, oh, taking the trip to the Mumbangu, you know, like the stationery store with my grandma, or like honestly at the age of 4 going by myself to buy like my diabetic grandpa red bean ice cream from the Penajong, which is like
Mm.
the convenience store, you know, like all that stuff, such great memories. And you know, that's like the gift of biculturalism. Like I definitely felt like I didn't have a home in the US. Like people were saying, like, you're not one of us. But then where you kind of have this like amazing gift to be like, well, our foot is in both worlds, you know,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and our memories. And honestly, I think Chang extends to like a piece of homeland. Like my homeland isn't necessarily like Korea or America. Like when I'm in Korea, there's like a million times a day where they're like, you're not like really Korean. But when I see a Korean American, I like feel like a piece of home is in
Mhm.
them. And so like that Chang means something I think like very different to Korean Americans. And so I moved here. I'm crazy because I'm a six and I like crave safety. So I like brought my entire brood over. And then I realized like, you know what? Like this is so strange. There's no programs for, like American kids really who are coming over, like during the summer school period, even though America has like the biggest concentration of the diaspora. So, that was like 2.5 years ago. And, that's when me and my husband were talking about it, whatever. But like I said, I got pregnant and, it was kind of on the back burner. And I really wanted to do it because I'm like, I want to be a place like that home for the next
Mm.
generation, like, because like my grandma, her funeral is like tomorrow in LA. Like the older
Oh,
generation is gone. Like the part of history, that home that we always go to
right.
is disintegrating. And there's so many amazing parents who are trying to prop up that like cultural heritage because it's so
Mhm.
important as, a minority. And I wanted Camp Hanang to be kind of like the Harmony day, like the house that they visit when they're in Korea. And we have a lot of plans to, hopefully expand to more than K through 5 in the future. But for now, this is a pilot, and that's kind of the heart behind it. And we welcome anyone who's even just not have any heritage and really want to learn more about the culture to just come and feel welcomed in Korea as a bicultural, cross-cultural child.
Mhm.
I love that you can make sure, because sometimes there is like this feeling of obligation and duty to do that, right? But
Mhm,
when it's more
mhm,
so like you're able to pull that from the joy and like positive experiences of your upbringing, and then
mhm.
that's how you can bring it forth. It's no longer about like just having to do it, but like wanting to do it and wanting to pass down that like experience to your kids. And I feel like that's where a lot of us are today. It's like, where is it where like
Mhm.
there's a richness to our culture that we want to share, but we also don't want to force it, right? Like
Right.
finding that line. And I feel like that's what you guys are offering in this time. And so like, would you guys talk more about what does Camp Hwarang look like in general? Like why would people who come to Korea want to send their kids here and like share in that experience?
Well, yes, no obligation because I have 4 young kids, and
Right.
everyone's like, "Why are you doing this? Don't you love yourself?"
And you were pregnant. Yeah, like you were pregnant with the
Yeah.
fourth. I'm like
Yeah.
amazed. I didn't know that.
No, and I'm like,
How old is Ellie now? Like 6 months,
she's 8 months,
8 months.
and
Wow.
Oh,
yeah,
so like almost same as Evan. Oh my gosh, you guys are
Like
yeah,
her second.
they'll
Yeah.
they'll, they'll have a
uh-huh.
buddy. Man, what can I say? I mean, like, why? I mean, forget obligation. Like, who's crazy enough to like go through the awful nebulous process that is a visa process to get to live in Korea and
Mm,
kind of like resettle here. But I mean, those core memories, the nostalgia, the part of my cultural identity that I really really cherished is really strong. And I think I always tell people BTS as a gateway. And don't get me wrong, I love BTS. I am such a stan since 2017. So proud. We're actually trying to get like D-Day tickets as we speak.
Yes.
But like I have kind of noticed that there's like really interesting things that like people love pop culture, and I'm like so proud of like K-pop and the Hallyu wave and stuff. But there's also like kind of a fetishization that comes with it that I've noticed. Like there are
mm,
people who come like wanting a Korean boyfriend because they've seen like K-drama. Like literally there are
right.
groups where some women like want to come and like get impregnated by a man just to have like a half Korean child or something. There's a lot of this stuff. But that's like for me, I'm like, if you really want to get interested in the Korean culture, like man, like when I like go to the weekly curriculum meetings or just like honestly hear Hyemin preach, our curriculum director, like Korea is like such a tiny peninsula and we have been independent for so long. We have been like the underdog for so long. And we have
Mhm.
like really overcome so many obstacles to say like, hey, like we're a people. Like you can't steal away our identity
Mhm.
and our
Mm,
culture, even though like so many times like through history like people have tried. And I don't know maybe if that's like something that resonates with me as like a member of the diaspora. And so when we drafted our curriculum, Hemin, I got to brag about her because she's like Harvard undergrad. She has like so many degrees. Came to Korea to become like a scholar at like Seoul National and like all of these like different institutions. And she knows like the history so rich and like deeply. And so honestly, like she can go into like, oh, you want to know like the roots of BTS? Like honestly, like Hwarang.
Yeah.
Hwarang
wow.
was like an elite group of like these youths back in the Shilla dynasty who was kind of like primed to be like the next generation leaders for Korea. And they like, were introduced to the arts like archery. They were really, really given like the best scholars to study with. And they were also very fashionable. Like they actually had groupies following them around. I'm like, oh my God, they're like the BTS of the Shilla dynasty. Um, there's just so much amazing history that I think like I myself didn't even know. And I think the more and more I see it in Korea. I like teach it to my kids. The more they're kind of like, hey, like I'm really proud to be Korean, and also I'm like American. Like they say that all the time. Like people ask them all the time, are you Korean or are they American? And when they first came here, they didn't know how to answer that,
Mm-hmm.
but they're like, I'm both. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why can't I be both? And I'm like, wow, like at 5 years old, at 7, 8 years old, like you already know how to say that confidently. Like that's
Yeah.
all I can like hope for,
Mm-hmm.
as a parent of a bicultural child. So from all my learnings, all the gifts of like the learnings that Hyemin, and team has brought unearthed, that's just what I hope to give, just really as a gift to the next
Yeah.
generation, to be proud of who you are. And it's okay that you don't have like a single identity. You don't have to.
Right. And I love hearing how just like in real time there was a need, you wanted it. And what I love about sixes is even as you introduce yourself, you go like the fearful six. Sure, that's a huge part of sixes that is known, but with the fear comes the like courage to still act out, right? And like act on the things that you have those convictions for. So that's like really encouraging to hear like this passion you have. And like even with being pregnant with your fourth, like you chose to do that. I'd love to hear Hanna as I'm assuming the youngest of this trio.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
so like you're my friend, you busy. Like why hop onto this mission and then be like the go-getter portion that like Christina was saying, like finding those partnerships or those things that like really helped this vision come to life. Yeah, give me those bullet points, my friend. I miss you. I love you. Hi.
Yeah, I mean, Christina did an awesome. I mean, like her vision, what's inside her head, really started
Yeah.
this all. So, and then Hemin really was maybe like the nutrients of those ideas, which is amazing.
Mm,
But for me personally, I am also a third culture kid, and having lived in different places around the states and different continents or whatever, like that sense of like belonging was always something that I wanted and I chased after. And unfortunately, when we were growing up, and this is already like 20 years ago, being Korean necessarily wasn't like something that was like praised or like, oh wow, you're Korean, that's amazing. Like I think Japanese, when I went to international schools, Japanese, people knew, but Korean, they rarely knew. Either you were Chinese or Japanese. And so that kind of like inner feeling of like, man, like I'm so proud. And you've met Koreans and Korean Americans or Korean Australians. We're like all very proud to be Korean. It's just like how our parents raised us, right? Like very like, no matter where you go, you take your kimchi, like if you don't have kimchi, you make it, you learn how to bring that culture with you wherever you go. Very proud of my Korean heritage, but it just wasn't reciprocated. However, now I think we're in a very different stage where like we're so blessed to be Korean. Like this is the best time to be Korean. I feel like wherever you go, wherever you are around the world, it gives you like a global like recognition, like as if you're like BTS's like cousin or like as if you're Blackpink's sister. Like it's just like very interesting times. And even in the States now, like for corporate dinners, it's not uncommon to go to like Korean barbecue and enjoy like Korean barbecue with like bunch of your Caucasian, Black, and Hispanic coworkers. And so when this idea was kind of discussed with Christina, for me it was two things. One, I want the next generation to be proud of being Korean, even if they're not born here or they don't live here in Korea. Be proud of being Korean, but being proud doesn't just come from like, hey, I'm like ethnically Korean, so I'm proud of that. No, like you have to know your culture, right? And then
right.
decide for yourself, like, is this something that I'm gonna preach and pass on to the next generation and then after, or is it something that I'm not going to jive well too much with? Like you have to know. And so I think that's where the education piece comes in with Camp Hwarang, that we are really investing heavily into. We're not simply just borrowing information and idea that's already readily available out in the public, but we're digging deep. Like, why did Sejong make Hangul? Like, why? What led him to do that? Are you interested in that? And then learn Hangul if you're interested in it. That'll be your motivation, and so on. So that's one reason why I think I was fully on board, because personally too, like raising bicultural kids and half Korean kids, there's going to be confusion for them in the future. Like, who am I? Am I American? Am I Korean? Am I Chinese? And so wanted to essentially start something where they can educate themselves about the Korean culture, without bias, and then decide for themselves, how much of that Koreanness they want to carry with them in their daily
Right.
lives. And secondly, like, this is the business side of me. I was like, dude, there's like a total demand for this, but there's zero supply. Absolutely, it's a market that we can capture, and with the right pieces, which we had the visionary, we had the curriculum person. This is going to work. We had essentially we had the product. If we think of ourselves like a tech company, we had the CPO, we had the CEO, we had the CFO. Like, there's nothing stopping us, right?
Business
um
101 right now.
yeah. So, like, from like a, like, I guess, market, like, demand, supply, just simple, like, it was like, this is gonna work, right? And I've shared in the prior podcast that we want to do business as missions. That
Yes.
means that we want to stand up like healthy, impactful businesses around the world, so that through it there's like positivity that's being shared, there's like education, there's empowerment, there's impact. So it definitely jived well with our vision of that. And so I hopped
Mm.
on, and literally, of course, there are days where we're like dealing with things that we would have never imagined that we would deal with, or like, none of us, come from like sales. So I think that's like one thing that we're like learning a ton, on sales, social media marketing, and so on. Yes, there are those days where we're like having to really dive deep and like figure out a solution, or many solutions for those problems. But I mean, overall, this has been a tremendous experience personally for me. The relationship aspect with Christina, like, and Hyemin as well. Like, we're getting to know each other so deeply, right? And learning better. I feel like we work much better now than, like, let's say, like 3 months ago. And
Mm.
also just learning how to operate a business, right? That has values, that will not slander, that will not take cheap shots or take shortcuts, right? Like, those are the values that we each individually have, that we want to operate an organization with. And so choosing to do less because we know that that's what aligns with our values and so on, that has been like a tremendous experience that I don't think you can buy with money, to be honest. So
Just hearing that too, it's like, right, when we think about these camps, we also think about like, oh, sending our kids and then like being on our own as well. But like hearing you just pull from your own identity as a third culture kid was really like helpful to hear. It's not just about like what you want for your kids, but also like what you would have wanted for yourself, and how to equip them so that they can make their own choice, right? And that's like this parenting world we live in, where it's like they can make those choices, but that doesn't mean we can't equip them. And more than us trying to fill in the blanks, it's like
right.
getting them to these amazing programs that create that information. So coming together, one, I'm curious, like, how would a K through fifth grader take away from, like, I'm getting excited, right? We're adults, like, we're like, yes, yes, but like, how would a K through fifth grader experience this? And then beyond that, I want to learn about like more about the business side or the teamwork side that you just touched upon. But kind of speaking to, what does the week long program look like? If a mom is, or a parent is listening, like, why would they want to be able to send their kids specifically here? And like the feeling of comfort knowing that this is a place that they would feel, yeah, like leaving them, I guess.
I might be able to speak to this. I'm not K through 5, but I have children in that age
You
range.
got, yeah.
And I designed the program together with the team with, them in mind. And I will say, even if when we're in Korea, they hate dogmatic learning. They hate
Yeah.
going to Hagwon. Like, at first I was like so excited. I was like, oh, there's like all these Hagwons, and they like pick you up right in front of a doorstep and they go. But a lot of times it's just rote. It's only one way to do it. Here's like the textbook. You gotta like,
Right.
do it a million ways, which is, fine. That's like one way to learn. And, I'm not saying that's bad. But for my kids, like they didn't want to do that after, spending all day at school. And they definitely don't want to do that in the summertime, because they're like, summer is still a place where I can have like a time when I can have fun. And that's their American side speaking, because in Korea, it's a
Mm-hmm.
time to like catch up to your studies. So I think when I thought about them, it's like we've been to a lot of museums and a lot of these locations, and we still we'll go to some of them, but we like handcrafted like these like locations that only we would have known about, like being in Korea for so long. Korea Tech, for example, like that's one week which I love, because I've been in the tech industry for so long, and I like love seeing like all this stuff. Yeah, and like there's like robot cafes, there's, I mean, everything is just so easy. Like I never even carry on paper anymore, because like I'm able to just have things work. There's innovation where like the Hyundai electric car is like outpacing Tesla. Like I've just been learning so much about that here. And how do I like really make that come alive for my kids? It's like, yeah, like I mean, I can take them to like a science and technology museum, or we can incorporate like, hey, do you know that like hunger is actually like an application of STEM? It's like really easy. It's like mix and match. Like it actually like gets your brain to
Mm,
be thinking about like these phonetic sounds in a way that makes it super easy for you and gives like a 98% literacy rate. That's all
mm,
based on like a very creative way, a very STEM approached way that it was created. And so doing that in learning, and then actually going
yeah.
to see exhibitions and then like trying it out with like a little like coding kit and seeing like how we can like connect these letters together and make a phonetic sound. And also like it's really really cool to see like some of these things. Korea is just so friendly for kids if you know where to go. And like modern day society, like in week 4 again, like I can go to this like building that's literally a green building that's powered by AI that like reduces energy consumption and has like robots coming and like serving you food. And oh, by the way, it's like the headquarters of one of the largest tech companies in the world. And that's like headquartered
Wow.
in Korea and in Pangyo Techno Valley where I live, because this is sort of the Silicon Valley of Korea. So I really, really want to see kids like, just really come alive and be like, oh my gosh, like
Mhm.
this is Korea. Like I can't believe they like figured that out. Like this is so smart. And just to be really proud. At the end of the day, just be proud. Like there's so many things
Yeah.
to be proud of. It's not just about, like what you see on an advertisement or whatever, but the language has like so much history. The language is like one of the smartest languages in the world, where like a lot of populations are even teaching their kids to learn it because like it's a great way to communicate internationally because it's so simple. So
Mm,
that's just like a little sneak preview of like just the thinking behind it. And there will be opportunities for like learning your phonetics and doing some writing and stuff like that. But if the kids are just sort of like, oh, like mom's dragging me to this camp where I'm going to, it's like Kumon but for Korean.
right,
then like
right.
then I don't think we're going to get a lot of return
No,
visitors.
yeah, I love hearing about the hands-on and it makes sense, right? Why right now too, like the K through 5th is because like as I'm listening to this, it's like you need to have those aha moment capabilities even
Mhm.
developed. And so it's like it's not just like a daycare bye, like,
Mm.
it's
Hmm.
like they're literally getting to discover and learn. And so like I see that intention behind it in the initial pilot. Obviously, I'm sure there's
Right.
many more things to come.
Oh, and I also wanted to say that on Fridays we give parents an opportunity to come and just sort of share and see like what their kids are kind of learning, and the kids can probably teach their parents a few things or two, because parents, like some parents are like, hey, like I want to learn some of this stuff, and
Yeah,
we're like, yeah,
yeah.
like there's an opportunity for you to come and like we'll have them like present, and you can be
Oh, I
immersed
love
too.
that. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
teaching the parents. That's
Yes.
awesome. Okay. Wow. Okay. Dang, that's so awesome. Y'all have really thought this through. And yeah, seriously, the fact that there's like very little supply on this is like true. The business side, like this is an amazing opportunity and like a great thing for like parents to take advantage of like while they're
Mhm.
there.
There are camps just to like cover me because I'm fear-based. I'm sure there are programs that are made by like Koreans, right? In
Right,
different
right,
like
right.
hubons and stuff. But I will say we're probably the only one that's made by like Korean Americans from scratch. Like literally
Yeah,
Korean Americans who made it for other Korean American or bicultural, cross-cultural, or non-heritage kids, with
right.
them in mind. Because yes, I really don't want this to become like a Kumon for Korean.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like you guys have the best advisors in your children because they're like bicultural too. And so there's definitely a huge reach. Is there anything specific to Camp Hwarang that you guys would want to share before I kind of ask you mompreneur teamwork questions? Because this is an Enneagram podcast.
Yeah, I mean, just last things to share, I guess. We have such a great vision and so many more things in sort of our product. I wouldn't call it roadmap yet, Christina, right? It would be more like a product vision map that we have. We are
Mhm.
obviously launching with a summer camp program because that was the most needed in this time period, and it was perfectly aligned with the summer. However, we are really thinking through ourselves as like a cultural platform. Simply put, like an advocate for the South Korean culture to those of Korean descent.
Mm.
And there's a, kind of like a bigger picture to this beyond Camp Hwarang as well, where the government of South Korea is heavily invested in, being highly connected with folks who are of Korean descent around the world, whether they choose to move back to Korea or remain outside, because our impact is so huge. There's just a lot of opportunities to highlight those people, and so we'll see what the future holds. Our kids, will be guinea pigs in all ways that we do, but yeah, very excited for what we kind of become as a brand in the future.
Will they be attending some of the weeks?
I'm excited. Like I want my older kid to attend and like be appreciative, because she's right now in that, transition period where she's like, what am I doing here? I want to be in America.
Right.
That's where I belong. But little does she realize that bubble that we, put ourselves in while we lived in America is really not America itself either.
No, our kids will be probably like the most brutal form of feedback because there's like
And
no
that's the
filter,
best way. Yeah.
and that's the best feedback. And I will also say that we employ and we are paying like local artists and local teachers.
Mm.
And so I also have like a huge sense of pride that like we're giving back to the economy, that we are really showcasing like a lot of these people have spent their lives. Like honestly, Korea has like so much talent, and there's so many avenues that we can like help bring them to like a stage where other people will really appreciate them throughout the world. So I'm really really proud that we're supporting these artists and these scholars and these teachers. So
As a mom listener as well, and hearing about like the mompreneurship side, and I don't know if you guys know Hemming's Enneagram,
he's
maybe
a
not.
three,
She's a three.
So two threes and a six. Okay, getting
but
things done.
I'm a functional three in stress, so you
Yes.
can just assume I'm a three.
No, seriously, like I think that's like really exciting just to hear is like that dynamic. How has it been working with one another? Hearing Hannah briefly speak about in these months really growing as a team. Yeah, what does that look like as moms and then as successful career women and then like with your identities as Korean Americans coming back to the motherland in your own journeys? Threes and sixes, you guys are on each other's growth and stress paths, which means you guys might resemble each other at different times.
Oh,
I know that Hannah is married to a six, so I'm sure this
yes.
partnership with you, Christina, is probably not a surprise in certain ways, or it could be a humbling way of realizing. But yeah, so like, I just love to hear about this dynamic and how that works with a lot of functional female boss women in this space.
I will actually say when you sent that little like one pager about the
Uh-huh.
stress paths, a great mirror to see how
Mm.
I'm driving my co-founders crazy because yeah, totally. Like arrogantly believe I see all possible scenarios. So, messaging everybody until like midnight to be like, do we think about this? Do we think about that? Because I did, or like keep busy to avoid feeling anxious. Like I like literally went over formatting for a document that nobody will see. Like why? But see, like this is what like Google like really liked when I was working there, but like nobody
Right, right.
else in the known world cares. But I did because I was feeling anxious one day.
Mm.
Refuse to try something new if failure's a possibility. I don't know that I've really seen this. Like, I mean, there's definitely things where we've had to like think creatively, and I think this is where Hyemin and Hanna had balanced me out. Worry
Mhm.
about my self image, so you put on a likable persona to establish support and loyalties with others. I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but I always apologize at the end of every call,
Yeah.
especially with Hannah. And I say thank you for still being my friend, I think, because okay, like if I really have to like go into my six rabbit hole, I asked Hemin to, because her mom is like an award-winning like children's like facilities like manager and daycare manager. It's like, hey, like I
Wow.
want to interview her, and then I also like got all these docs about like emergency preparedness, had a script, like read through it. I have a son who has allergies, so like I have like a specialist to train, like our teachers. And the weird thing is, like when I was like reviewing all those docs and creating all those docs, it like gave me so much joy because I'm like, yay! Like I have seen all possible scenarios, and which is like a fallacy, but for me, it's like I don't think anybody goes through this. And again, this is what something that like startups and like companies like Google really liked, because would work there, I'm just like, have you thought about like backup plan B, C, and D, especially when we're doing events marketing, because this can go wrong. And here's a backup plan for that. Or when we're trying to do like sales attributions, and it's like, how can you connect like our marketing activities to Salesforce? Oh my gosh, your Salesforce is a mess. Let me like wade through hours of data and like try to like clean it up so that we can actually like have proper attribution. It's like this stuff that is like way too over prepared, but I would like to think that it was like very helpful. And, it's stuff that I think nobody really thinks about.
Mm-hmm.
That was sort of my strength. And so the double-edged sword is that like I've done a lot of events. I did like some of like the biggest like marketing events at Google with like millions and millions of dollars of budget, with like thousands of people coming, part of a team, and all I did was just like let my six fly. And it's like, let's think about all
Mm.
these things that can go wrong. Let's like plan for this. Like, what if we don't have food? Okay, we'll have this backup. Oh, what calendar date is it? Like, oh, is that the presidential election? Oh, there's gonna be traffic and protesters, So I don't know if that's gonna be a fruit or not at this
I
camp,
mean, let me
but
tell you, as a parent, knowing that
mhm,
there is someone thinking of all the
like
worst
this.
case
Dude, like she's
scenarios.
thinking through like apocalypse as
Right.
well.
And
So
like as a parent sending their child, that gives me so much peace knowing that there is a leader on your team that will, just be in that space, right? Because that's hard to be in that space, but you're able to go there and then figure out how to get y'all out of there too. And then the threes will make sure you do that. But yeah.
But like, I mean, this is like we talk about the apocalypse, but we just went through a pandemic. Climate change is
Right.
here today. And I was like, oh man, that first day when the pandemic was declared, I was like, all right, it is go time. It is all the things that I've been preparing for.
For
I
your whole
literally
life was for this moment.
Oh my gosh, like when we were like buying a house, I remember I was like asking the builder like, is there a fire safety map? And they're like, why would we think about that? We haven't had fire here in all these years. I'm like, climate change, hello. And lo and behold, of course they updated it. So yeah, I mean, it's a disease.
Wow.
And I think when you work with me, it's probably not great, but I think that partnering with Hyemin and Hanna has actually helped me to grow a lot, and had a mirror to myself to be like, I really need to stop that and just
Mhm.
trust others. They are like so much more like experienced than I am in so many different ways, and stop being so reactive, and try to
Mm.
like build community, which is supposed to be like sort of the best. It's like one of the best parts of me, I think, is to like, oh, there's the apocalypse. We're gonna get out together, and then we're gonna form a tribe, and then we're gonna stick through it to the end. I think is like my health growth path.
Yeah, that's like the ultimate place you can get is a healthy 3, and so you have 2 awesome partners kind of carrying you through that.
Hmm.
yeah, no, I mean, I think Christina, like she said, like she always finishes with like a sentiment of like sorry and thank you. But as a partner, like when I encourage her not to do that, because she is appreciated and there is no need to apologize. We're all kind of doing this together and learning together. And I think the wonderful thing about us three, I guess, mom entrepreneur or whatever you want to call us, doing this together is we each have such different and unique experiences in the past, and obviously we're not partaking in this journey because we have a lot of time.
Right.
I mean, and Christina look at me like, you only got 2 kids, like what are you complaining about, and so
Untrue, untrue.
definitely there is passion, there is
Mm.
discipline, and there is like cohesiveness, like a mutual respect of what each other is bringing to the table. And of course, like there are times where like Christina being mindful of like the secondary, the tertiary like impact of an action, or like coming up with second, third, and fourth alternative solution. I would have never ever thought it through that way. I would be, I think, being a 3, it's you execute, and if something didn't go according to plan, you come up with the solution. Then you don't necessarily like plan, I think, before. And so those kind of areas, I really, really do appreciate it. And the industry that we are kind of like going after, I think having those all stone, flipped open. Is that the right way you say it? I don't know.
I've
Like,
never heard that
sorry.
statement in my life,
Okay,
but
but
I
you get it, right?
understand.
Yeah,
I get it.
yeah.
I get you.
See, 1.5 right here. Yeah, like that is such a massive quality and attribute that
Yeah.
parents and coworkers and us as partners, like, we really really do appreciate, because we're dealing with not some product, or even like pets, but we're dealing with human beings and children of somebody, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so that I'm really thankful. I think for me, partnering with two amazing people, like, I don't think I have been stressed. I mean, compared to like sort of the corporate world stress, like, this is nothing. Like, we are choosing to do this, and this is like definitely a passion thing. But there are areas when it comes to, let's say, like finances, right? Like distributing budget to like different areas and so on. I can sense like both Hyemin and Christina want to put forward like the best product for all of our campers and meet their needs. But as a, I guess, steward of our resources for the company, I have to come in and say, actually, not that I don't want the best product, but I think we have to like kind of prioritize where we want to
Mm,
go all in on, and some areas that we should be kind of pulling back on and so on. And so in those areas, looking at your chart right now, resisting help from others, you want to be left alone and not be bothered. Maybe like explaining that a little bit, it would be more like being more firmer. Like, I can feel myself telling myself, be firmer, right? Even
mm-hmm.
though that may not be my initial intention. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, just learning through that as well, kind of working with these experts, and people with like great ideas. How do I help them bring to fruition those ideas without killing the bank, essentially? So
Right.
for me, I haven't had too much like stressful moments, unlike Christina. maybe she's dealing with all the stressful things, and I'm just here chilling.
No, no,
um
I'm glad. I'm glad
yeah.
because it gives me a lot of confidence to hear that. And we
Yeah.
might be the only CEO slash CMO and CFO friendship out there in the world because marketing people usually never get along with the finance person. They're like, no, no,
All
you
right.
cannot have that like gilded pony on stage for, the marketing event where like BTS is going to come out with like streamers coming
Yes.
down. Um, but I mean, I'm stressed, but if you think this is stress, you should have seen me at startups in
Oh
corporate
my
world.
Right.
gosh.
Right.
Like I again, like I do have the joy, but like I never regret it. There are times
Yeah.
when I like really regret it, especially after kids, because it's like, you have these existential crises, like why am I like killing myself literally
Mhm.
for
Mm,
something that like this one person, I'm like optimizing everything for this like one person who's probably also a six, right?
mm,
And so I think like when I'm doing this and I'm like with my friends and I feel very like trusted and I know them,
yeah.
I just it's been a joy doing this. And yeah, I've never actually seen this side of me because whenever I join a company, my like three in stress always comes through, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to make this promotion. I have to do this.
Mm,
But this is just like, no, like we have an amazing and unique mission statement that we crafted together.
mm,
And that has been so grounding.
Mhm.
And it's really been such a joy and such a fruit in this thing. I've never seen this out of me before.
Mhm.
So
I
And
love that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because I'm a three, or it's like some kind of, you can psychoanalyze me, NG, like later, but like I am so confident in what we have built together. Like, this is like beyond, like way over my initial expectation of like what we were going to offer. Like, this is absolutely like the best product that I could ever be part of. And so whenever there are, like, obviously, like, there's not always going to be like positive feedback, and there are areas that we need to like deal with, when there's like a little bit of sense of like, oh, should we have done it this way, or like, should we try to make it better by optimizing, for one person or two people? I'm like, no, like, this is great. Like, this is, our product is good. Let's like have that confidence as our basis,
Mm,
and we can tailor to the needs of some of these, students as much as we can, but like never like put that in jeopardy of like the quality of the product that we have built, and be proud of that, and continue to push forward with that, when we interact with, current and future customers.
yeah.
And so I feel like I'm having to do a lot of like, Christina, like, what you have built is like an amazing product. Like, don't double, like, I guess, question it. Like, I don't know if it's like an Enneagram thing, but, I feel like I'm very blessed to do that role, because Eunji knows,
Yeah.
like, even till post college period, of course, when I was younger too, like, I never was the comforter, or like the, I was always
What do
like,
you mean?
I was, like never give compliments,
Uh-huh.
tough love,
Uh-huh.
like, your product sucks, like we can do better. Like that's the kind of person that I was. And I think it's like two prong. Like one, I am growing as well
Yeah,
in grace, but two, the product that we have built is absolutely phenomenal.
right.
That's like, uncontested. So yeah.
It's definitely an Enneagram thing, and you're definitely in your health. But
Okay.
I mean, even listen, because like I am a previous educator myself, right? And like hearing the
Teach for
curriculum side of
America.
things, little, it's all credible here. As a mother, prior educator, I am on board because I do feel like I hear the curriculum side, right? Which is where educators have a heavy focus, but the gap is like the business side, the sustainability side, right? And like the don't get burnt out and become insane side. And like
Mhm.
I hear that working in your partnership, and I hear the background of even like business being your guys' background, right? And that helps bring this perspective that's not often found in education spaces, which makes me really excited for what you guys have to offer. So yeah, it's awesome.
And yeah, well, we have a great vision where we really, really do want to make this available for as many people who want it.
Mhm.
And we understand it's the first pilot year. There's a lot of kinks. It might be the price point might be high, but yeah, give us a year. We'll
Yeah,
we'll
we'll
be back on
figure
the
it out.
podcast
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
and we'll tell you.
Let's see. Yeah, we can have yearly reflections. We
Yes.
can bring on, and we can bring on your kids as students,
Mm.
prior students, like all these ideas
Can you
flowing.
psychoanalyze your Enneagram? Because this is something that me and my husband talk about all the time.
As long as we don't tell them and like speak it over them, yeah, we can do all the
Ah,
psychoanalyzing.
okay, okay. That's what I'm
Okay,
interested in.
so to conclude this segment, as a mom or a dad or a guardian listening, what does it look like to do next steps? Like, I know you guys sometimes give promotional opportunities or knowing what season this might be in, or like little things like that. Any logistical things of like, how does that look like for someone listening?
Hannah, you want to give the bullet points? Because I'll just pitch all day long.
Okay, all right. Sounds good. Yeah, so we are very, very thankful that the first 3 weeks of the 5-week pilot summer camp program that we're putting together for the summer is nearly full. There's
Wow.
like one spots left, I think, for those 3 weeks. And so our focus in outreach will be primarily on weeks 4 and 5, which is very full as well. So there's not much room. And we intentionally didn't want to, make our pilot like a
Right.
bang. We wanted to use this time to really, get feedback and reiterate and adjust and, in a smaller kind of, group setting, even though, I mean, I don't know if you would call that small anymore. Because initially we wanted to do 2 weeks, but we, after
Grew
2 days
to
of,
5. Yeah.
yeah, real fast. And so
Uh-huh.
this will be our learning opportunity, really humble, positioning and wanting to use the experiences and the interactions with the students for our future programs as well. And
Mm.
so if you are interested in, or someone is traveling through Korea this summer in July, month of July, please visit us on our website at campwadong.com or reach out to us on Instagram. We'd love to just even engage. We've gotten a lot of engagements actually, aside from like, hey, I want to enroll my kid, but more so like, hey, I noticed on your bios that all three of you like moved your entire family from North America to Korea.
Mm.
Like, what was that process? How did you come to that? How was that process? Where do I begin? Like, do your kids like it? These are things that are not available in one kind of like central place, on online. And so if you are considering that, if you're thinking about that with your family, like we're happy to be your resource and give our personal kind of encounters and share that stories with you. And so yeah, let's stay connected. We're also on Instagram doing a lot of cool stuff there. So yeah.
And what's interesting is the first 3 weeks are almost full, and that means people actually haven't made their plans for the last half of July. Which as a six, I'm like, that's crazy. There's only 2 months, 3 months left. Come on. But I realize that's how most of the normal world works.
Yes.
So yeah, there's there's a giveaway. There's a giveaway for weeks 4 and 5 for anybody who is a six and is
Mhm.
planning like way ahead.
Okay, I have 4 questions rapid fire. Just made them up right now. So, first one, of the 5 weeks, what is your favorite? Ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
Two.
Week 4.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
that's
Can you
hard. You did not ask me
one
about
of
this. This is
one of
hard.
this is my surprise
Okay,
that you're probably unhappy about.
I know. I'll go really fast. I said two. Session two is our taste of Korea. Like I love food,
Ooh, I looked at
and
that. Yeah.
looking at the curriculum, like our team just went above and beyond in like explaining the process of fermentation, the different colors of the traditional food that we enjoy. The kids get to make some of this food, with like real ingredients that are like vegetated and grown here in Korea. Like it's such an amazing experience. And yeah, I don't know, like I think food is such a good gateway to introduce a new culture and imprint on that on our children. And so yeah, that's why I chose to.
And I chose four because it was actually advised. All of our curriculum is advised by experts. So we talk with a product leader at like Line, Naver, Kakao, and Meta. He worked at all those companies.
Wow.
And he gave like such an amazing history. Also, SNU and Harvard grad. There are not one, but two of those people on our team. And he just
Wow.
gave like such an amazing history about it that blew my mind. So just seeing kind of like, okay, like yes, there are ancient stuff that's really important, but what's Korea now? Like
Hmm.
what's happening right now, and what are some of the innovations and the opportunities now for you as a child to get excited about? For me as a parent who loves like STEM and those applications is something that, like I said, but it's really hard because I like all of them. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's hard.
Wait, so
Yeah.
wait, so 4 is the STEM based one?
Yeah. Korea Tech.
Okay. Korea tech. Okay, I figured one of you guys would say the tech one.
Yeah.
This one's maybe not as much Camp Parang, but favorite kids cafe in Korea that you take your kids to.
mm.
3, 2, 1.
Champion
Borororen
black
Park.
belt.
Okay, we couldn't hear either anyway.
Okay,
I
sorry.
heard I heard Pororo and Champion Pop.
Champion black belt.
Oh, okay. And
That
then
sounds
So
way
Pororo.
fancier than Pororo. Okay, I have like a
no,
2 year
no.
old, so we need to go to Pororo land.
So Hannah's in the 4.5 to 2 market. I am in now the 8 to 5 to 3, no, 8 to 6 to 3 babies. So the champion, it's basically like a American Gladiator like type of stuff for like kids who are older. So they like literally go up, scale walls, like climb up like a rock mountain type facade or whatever, and you just release them. And then they also, like a separate division, has like a little kids area where you have like a little kitchen, and sort of like 3-year-olds really like it. So I like the wide variety of age ranges that it serves.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good.
And Pororo kind of sounds like it explains itself.
Yeah.
I guess just yeah, in general, a more Korea question is like, what is something we would want to know about as like people traveling there that's like a hidden gem or something like that. So it could be more speaking to adults as well, or it could be families with kids as well. Because I'm going there in September. I need some pointers.
Ooh.
3, 2, 1, go.
Medication list. And
What?
I'm sorry, you're interviewing a 6, and I'm sick.
I
So
love
that's on my mind. Okay, but can you just hear me out? Can you just hear me out?
yes.
Because on June 1st, I'm going to be sending out a preparation list for our parents, and they need to know stuff like things that I went through, like,
Dying.
acetaminophen. There's a shortage in Korea, so bring your Tylenol.
I love
Okay,
this actually.
I
Thank
feel
you.
like
I'm going June
parents have a
1st. I'm
right to
marking my
know.
calendar. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, these are just for just your campers, but
Oh.
I will say it here in the podcast. If you have gone an hour straight and you're still listening, you deserve this information.
Okay.
Yeah.
Email me and we'll
Here,
put aside for you.
yeah, a set amount of just for you, yes. Like EpiPens, you have to go to
Mhm.
one location in Seoul to get it. Like it's not easily
Oh.
prescribed. They have like different brands for it. Like I went through all that. And because of failing birth rate, like all the major 24/7 like hospitals, there used to be like over 7, and now there's only a handful because the birth rate is plunging. So, knowing like which hospital to go to in like the middle of the night, don't you feel like that is a hidden gem
It
of
is.
information at 2 a.m. in the morning? I think so.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Um,
This is why you gotta love the sixes,
yeah,
Thank you.
and
I
here I
feel so
am
supported.
still thinking like, what do you actually need? I don't know. I have no idea.
She's like, you're in Korea, isn't that all you need?
In general, like I would say for parents or families traveling with young kids, you don't have to bring like big bulky strollers. One, it doesn't fit anywhere. Like if you're trying to walk on the street, if you have a bulky stroller, like you can't pass through people. So if you have a travel stroller, I think that's fine. But if you have like multi children, so like 2 to 3, and it's like just impossible for you to bring that many strollers, every department store, every big theme parks, every those like sort of organized areas have such an amazing like rental program for strollers
Oh,
for like
nice.
$3. Like you
Not,
get this
oh my,
really
yeah.
fancy, yeah, for all day
And
rentals. So
restaurants,
restaurant,
애기식기, right? Like all the
yes,
place settings for kids.
yes.
Always
So
there. You don't need to
don't
bring your own.
you don't need to like carry around. Like I remember in the States, you carry on your own scissors, the kid's
Yeah.
spoon, like kid's water bottle. Yeah, those are all kind of
Oh my gosh, we need to learn
addressed.
from Korea.
Yeah.
And can I just say one thing is that if you
Yes.
have 2+ kids, this is vocabulary word that you should know. You will get called 애국자 a lot on the subway. So if you have multiple children, that means a lot of ajumas are going to want to touch your kid and call you a patriot because you are the future generation.
애국자.
애국자.
Mm,
So if you get called that on the subway, that's what it means if you are bold enough to come here with your children.
yes.
Yeah, I
You
saw
know.
like when people would travel, like they were like, yeah, we can just eat as a couple because the restaurant lady, ajumas, would just like watch the kids because they're like so happy to.
Mhm.
I was like, that's so interesting to see, but yeah, that's good to know packing wise and prep. And last
Mhm.
question, if you could, because this is my podcast question, if you could describe Camp Parang in a fruit, what would it be? A three, a two, a one.
Watermelon.
A persimmon.
Okay.
Okay, I will go first. I will go first. Because I learned this in Taste of Korea, is that a persimmon is very much a Korean fruit and mainstay. Because if we're a tiny peninsula, we don't farm our own things, but and it doesn't really look like a tantalizing fruit. But because like the sugar density is so high, people loved it. So growing up, it was like such a source for like nutrition and sweets. It was like a delicacy. It could be like done in all different ways. And to me, I'm like, that's like Korean. You have to like bite the fruit, and you have to really, really see like this flavor profile. First bite into it might be hard until you get to the middle. If it's like hard, and then it's like really, really sweet. You can see it all over Korea, but you might not have ever tasted it until you really, really just gotta reach up and grab this ugly fruit and eat it.
Yeah. And it comes in so many different, ways
Yeah,
to
ways to eat it.
it's so
Please don't
versatile.
cancel me for saying that kam is ugly. It's just an opinion.
The uglier it
And
is,
Camp
the
Camp
better
Parang has
tasting.
5 different weeks with 5 different ways to view Korea. Just like, there's
Hmm.
just trying to
Oh,
I
wow.
love the com, so I love that one. Okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
Hannah, finish it off with the
Yeah,
subak.
not as near complicated as that. Summer, Korea, all I remember summers in Korea is eating subak because it's hot here and AC was not plethora back then. And our camp is in the summer, and I'm sure we'll have some subak for lunch for some of the students as dessert. So
Oh,
that's, yeah, and it's
love
it's
it.
juicy. It's juicy.
Yeah.
That's a better answer than what I did because it's like that is like part of the core memory of like Korea is eating subak on your like grandma's like straw mat.
Yeah,
It's like that's what they did in Ratatouille when like Anton Ego eats like Ratatouille.
that's
And
right.
and
That
this
is
is gonna
Camp.
become this is gonna be a core memory for those kids. So
Absolutely.
I hope
exactly
so.
just like that. Yeah. Well, I am so excited for the first week to start. Thanks guys for making time to just share part of your vision here on Color Commentary. And I will see you guys in 2 years when Jaden is 5. And this program is
Yay.
even better than it will be
Right.
already this summer because there's so much to look forward to. Yeah, thanks for listening to another episode of
Color
Kohler
Commentary.
Commentary. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.